Okay, I think that I'm recording this session now. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time. So we are going to start the interview. I'm going to um, try to do this as soon as possible. I know that we are having issues with the rain right now, so I'm sorry for the background noise. I'm going to start with introducing our research project. Our research project is technological competences in intermediate English 2. The general objective is analyze the technological skills of middle level students and investigate the different challenges that students may have when they put into practice the knowledge they have acquired based on technology. So I'm going to start with the first question, and it says, what is the importance of institutional platforms for teachers?
Hello, can you hear me?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me or not?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Um, in my opinion, about the first question, which is what is the importance of institutional platforms for teachers, I think that is the main tool that they have, for example, to evaluate the skills or maybe the achievements that we have as a student. And besides that, I think that it's very important because, as you know, we have, for example, the email or maybe other tools, but the platform is the best way that they can provide us, for example, feedback or the material that we need to use, I think.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know if Stephanie would like to share or any idea that you have.
Yes, good evening. Well, in that point, I consider um, this platform are important for teachers because they can provide to us with materials that can help us in our semester. And that's it.
Okay, thank you so much. So let's continue with the second question. It says, what is the best way to introduce a new platform? If you have any doubt about the question, you can ask. For
That question.
example, when we talk about institutional platforms, we mean, for example, institutional platforms like virtual classrooms, UTEC Virtual. Those are some examples of new platform. Or, for example, some teachers are using Nearpod. That is also a platform that they use to provide or give the classes. So the question is, what is the best way to introduce a new platform?
Um, for example, could be something like, I don't know if you know about the beta when a game is going to be launched. And I think that could help, or I mean, you can identify maybe the issues that you will have with the original platform, for example. And I think that most of the developers they use or they should to make like a tester, but with a small group, and in order to avoid future uh, issues, I think that could be helpful.
Right. Thank you.
In my case, in this question, I think the best way for introduce a platform is explaining how the platform works, and either with a video or in a PDF document.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to continue with the next one. The next one says, what determine if students are capable to use technology and institutional platforms? I'm going to leave it right here so you can read it if you want to read the question again.
I think, and that is the use that each students that determines how capable they can be with technology and platforms.
Right. Okay, thank you. What do you think? Juan?
About this question, I can say that in my opinion, it depends how friendly will be the platform. Because as you know, sometimes the interface of some programs are not friendly with the youth, and at the end could be something stressful when you are trying to use them. So in our case, as we are studying, I think that platform should be something easy to use, shouldn't be very complex, for example.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on. Okay. The next one says, why these new platforms generate stress to students?
And I think many times it's because the students don't know these platforms very well and don't really know what to do.
Okay. Right. I can see that we have another guest. Thank you so much for joining. We are doing the interview, so we are right now in the question number 4. So if you want to give us your point of view, why these new platforms generate stress to students? I was explaining the that what we mean for new platforms is the platforms that teachers use nowadays that we are working from home. For example, the institutional platforms like Teams, Zoom, some I was giving the example that they use Nearpod. So these platforms that teachers use, why do you think that can generate a stress to students? Can anybody else answer the question? Or we can continue with the next one, that is the number 5. It says, what is the impact of technology in schools nowadays?
The impact that technology has caused is that not many of the students before entering the pandemic used what computers are, and today they are very essential to carry out classes and activities.
Okay, thank you so much. The question, I'm going to read it again. It says, what is the impact of technology in schools nowadays? Maybe, Juan, can you give us your point of view of this question?
Sure. I consider that it depends of the view because, for example, for the people that some time ago didn't have enough time working and having classes, is very helpful because in my case, I work at home and I have classes at home, so I don't have to invest a lot of time in the traffic. So I just change the computer from the work to the computer taking classes, but at the same time, it's something, for example, in my case, and being honest, sometimes I feel a little lazy that when I used to go to the university because um, you can feel more tired, I think, and at the end you are not paying the full attention in the classes, so you can see that maybe the knowledge that you are getting is not the correct or the expectation that you have, for example.
Right. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask my classmate, Juan Carlos, if he want to read this second question. We are doing the interviews for, I can see that we have another classmate that he joined us. Thank you so much for being here. We are doing now the question number 6. So, Juan, can you read it, please?
Yes, it's a really pleasure to be here. I will continue with the interview, and you told me that number five, six.
Number 6, yes.
Okay, and you said why this methodology can have advantage and disadvantage.
Right. Thank you so much. Um, why, or we can also say, what is the advantages and disadvantages of using technological platforms, or, for example, what are the advantages and disadvantages to being online, to have online classes? What do you think?
Well, as one said, an advantage could be that you can save time and you don't have to be stuck in the traffic to receive a class. Also, you can save money because you don't spend money on the bus or something like that. And a disadvantage could be that um, if you don't have a stable connection to internet, you can lose all of your classes.
Right. Thank you so much. Another point of view.
Maybe, Clara, I think that another disadvantage, I think that could be, for example, when you used to go to the university, you are joining, or maybe you are spending time with your friends. So at the end, maybe you don't feel like the class is too boring. But in this case, when you are at home, and in my case, I live alone, when I'm having classes, and sometimes is a little stressing or maybe boring. And at the end, I'm not getting or I'm not paying attention. So I think that or maybe could be a little disadvantage, but as my peer mentioned it before, one of the advantage will be maybe the time, or maybe that you can save a little money.
Right. Correct. Thank you so much. Um, maybe I don't know if Miss Menjivar would like to share any point of view that you have with this question.
Yes, of course. Where, well, the first advantage that we can have is affordability and also improve for attendance. It's more easy for us. We can have the class maybe when you are in your work, when you're working, or when you are in your home, maybe when you are out. And also another disadvantage, it could be we can get distracted easily. Another
Yes,
students, they are receiving his class, but they're shaking his social network.
correct. Thank you so much. Miss Baires, can you help us also with this one? Okay, no, we can continue then. Maybe you can help us in in the next one. Juan, can you help us to read the number 7?
Sure. Why virtual classrooms are an excellent tool for teachers.
Thank you. Why virtual classrooms are an excellent tool for teachers? What do you think?
Maybe these visual tools could be used to share multimedia like videos or activities. And also, if a student has a doubt, they can easily watch the recording of the class.
Right, thank you so much. Juan, can you also help us with this one?
Who one?
Um, about this one, let me see what is the question. Number 7, right?
Yes, number 7.
Um, I think that, for example, for teachers are excellent because I don't know if you remember that many years ago when you go to the university, you have to pay for a lot of copies and you have to buy a lot of materials. But nowadays it's easier because, for example, the teacher can just upload a document or assignment, and you just have to download and complete it, maybe in your computer or in the device that you have. And I think that this is one of the main advantages that teachers could have.
Okay, thank you so much. Miss Mejibar, can you also help us with this one? The number 7.
Well, I think that the teachers, see at the moment that fine, how it works well, and that easy for all students teacher because in that moment we check and so about the session and I think it up that and that teach us a class from home. That's my
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Let's continue with the number 8. Juan Carlos, can you read it, please?
Why do you think technology keeps modifying the way of communication?
Thank you. What do you think about this one, guys? The question says, why do you think technology keeps modifying the way of communication?
In my opinion, Clara, um, about that question is because technology can stop. For example, nowadays it's easier to communicate with the people than write a letter, or maybe, yes, write a letter. You can just send a message even if the person is in the other side of the world, and they will get the message in seconds, for example. And many years or many decades ago, that was very difficult. So it was difficult because to send a message, you will have to wait like a week or maybe days in order to get the message. So technology won't stop. And as a human, we have to stay at the same, maybe at the same level with technology, because if you don't understand the technology, at the end you won't be able to handle maybe new devices or maybe keeping the new communication in the future.
Right. Yes, I'm totally agree with you. It's easier to communicate with people, right? Through the internet. Um, I don't know if maybe the girls have any other opinion.
Well, I think technology has helped us to be more forward in how we say the things. For example, you could be more specific in a text message than in face-to-face talk. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Yeah, I understand. But you say your point of view. So that's correct. It's easier to say things through internet. Like we can take the example of like people using Twitter, right? Um, People can say anything there because it's easier to say something like in a in that platform, let's say social platform. So yeah, that's correct what you are saying. Juan Carlos, I think that you are mute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
You need to adapt for whatever platform that you see the way. Uh, Actually, we prefer connect in a call, a video call, or a call, normal call. You prefer send a call in WhatsApp, for example. What is happening with the other ways of communication? They are modified. In this case, you need to know that if you don't adapt at the change, you will not be the best people, or you don't you don't have advantage comparison from another. You know, if that you want to adapt now at the change. You need to evolution for all the change that in the future will come to us.
Right, thank you. I don't know if before continue, anybody else have any other opinion? Let's continue with the next one. I think that we are for the number 9, right? So it says, what do you think about virtual classrooms? What do you think about virtual classrooms?
My case, I think the virtual classrooms are very accessible to obtain materials to study, and and it's way and sorry, and it's an easier way to develop the words or tasks.
Right. Thank you so much. Anybody else that would like to answer the question?
Well, for me, it helps the students a lot to interact with the teachers. And also, when the teachers assign homework, we have the facility to set it at night, or we can even send it uh, 24 hours without, spent on material. And even if we have any question, we can just send an email to the teacher.
Correct. You're right. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Well, I agree with them because the virtual classroom has made my studies easier. If I have doubts, I can research. I can do research, or maybe
Right. Thank you so much. Let's continue with the next one, the number 10. Do you think it is easier work virtually than presentially? Why?
In my case, I consider that both are good ways to study because by studying a person, you can concentrate more in class. But it's a good way to have a virtual classroom and or to check materials even in the class when a topic is not well understood.
Correct. You are right. Thank you so much. Another opinion?
In my case, Clara, I consider that depends the situation because, for example, for virtual classes, it's easier to find an answer when you're having a doubt. You go to the browser and you put the question or maybe the doubt that you have, and at the end you get an easy answer. But in the other hand, for example, in the classes at the university, you can enjoy with different ideas, or maybe if you have a specific question, you have the teacher in front of you and you can ask him. Or maybe if someone else have the answer, that will help too. So, but I think that depends the situation, not always will be the same.
Okay, thank you so much. Miss Perez?
in my case, it's easier to work essentially because I get easily distracted. So
Mm-hmm. Right.
it's really
Thank,
virtually.
correct. Thank you so much. I don't know if maybe Miss Mejibar also would like to share something about this one before move on to the next one. Otherwise, maybe we can continue and she can answer this second one. We are about to finish, only three more questions and we are done. So the next one says, how enjoyable are virtual sessions? Do you like virtual classrooms or do you prefer face-to-face classrooms? Let me read it again. It says, how enjoyable are virtual sessions?
But even though I get usually distracted with virtual sessions, I enjoy these classes because I can join whatever I want, wherever I am. Sorry, and
Right.
yes,
Yes, I agree with you. Like in my case, I prefer to study virtually rather than being face-to-face class. But we would like to know your what do you prefer? Like Miss Mejibar, I don't know, what do you prefer? Do you like being in virtual classrooms? Okay. Yes, that's right. Because yeah, you have to, I mean, pay if you are on taking like buses, right? It's it's also has the, some advantages and disadvantages, right? Um, Miss Vides, do you have um any idea or if you want to share with us your experience, what do you think about virtual classes? Or maybe Juan would like to say something about this question before we continue with the next one.
Sure. In my case, Clara, if I had enough time to go to the university, being honest, I will prefer face-to-face classes because I'm the kind of person that prefer to talk in front of you
Mhm.
than messaging or having a call, for example. But at this time, it's better for me because actually I don't have the time, for example, to take or maybe driving to the university and then driving to the work. So this is the best option that I have at this moment. So
Right now, right?
sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's maybe a little boring, but sometimes there are classes that are very funny and yes, they are enjoyable.
Mhm. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Let's continue with the next one. The number 12 says working virtual classroom is better than working presential class. It's a little bit similar with the previous one, but what do you think? For example, um, do you prefer to be like here in a virtual classroom like we are right now, or it will be better if you keep going to the university like in presential classes?
I think that, for example, if you have a group project, it's easier to agree or be in the same page if you are working face to face. And virtually, it's harder to agree.
Right.
Yes.
Or, for example, do you think that all the students come to class when they are in virtual classes? Do you think that all of them attend to class?
Uh, no, not all of them. They some students usually wait to someone to say to them what are we going to do.
Right. Correct. Also because nowadays with virtual sessions, all the students like are recording the classes, right? So maybe if the students was unable to join the class, the students can watch the class later, right? So that can be a good advantage, right, for being in a session, virtual session.
In my case, Clara, I was going to say something about your point of view. Um, in this case, if you're mentioning that it's an advantage recording the class and then maybe you will have the time, at the end, that advantage could become, for example, a disadvantage because, being honest, sometimes I think that the responsibility that we have in virtual classes is not the same like if you are going to the university because you are with that, for example, that you are going to see the classes and sometimes you don't join the class and you don't see the recording or maybe you just put the classes in and you are doing something else. So I think that it's not totally an advantage. All depends of the student.
Right. Yeah, correct. Anybody else? We are going to continue with the last one, and it says, are virtual classrooms more interactive than presential classrooms? Do you think that all the students, like if the teacher is asking something, do you think that all of them can turn on the mic and answer the question? Or it can be more interactive to be in a presential class?
In my case, I consider that depends more on the teacher than the classroom because some teachers treat the class more turned off and others no.
Okay, thank you. Miss Perez, do you have um, an answer for this question?
To be that sorry, what was
Okay,
that presential classes could be more interactive because some students can turn on their mic if they are in a noisy place, and that could be difficult to, to show their opinions in classes.
okay, yeah, right. Miss Mehibar, I don't know if would you like to answer this one as well? Okay, let me check the chat. Okay, Okay, thank you so much for sharing here using the chat button. So yeah, it's right what you are saying here. Also, I think that because we are not, I mean, we can turn on the cameras also if we want. The teachers, they are not, I mean, asking us like we need to do it, but I think that I mean, we have the option, right? If we want to participate using the microphone, or we can use the chat. So that is a good options that we have. Like we can decide if we want to use the microphone or the chat. So I think that these are the questions that we have for you today. We really appreciate the time, I mean, that you gave us answering this interview. Unfortunately, we didn't have all the students because we are having this issue like with the rain. For example, here is raining, and I think that where you are, most of you are having issues with the rain. But thank you so much for being here. I'm going to stop recording this. Once again, really thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation, Clara. And actually was maybe interesting because most of the guests were practicing or they were talking, and I think that was the purpose of this. And thank you.
Right. Thank you so much again.